Eating Soup Alone is a podcast hosted by me, Christopher Crumley, and co-hosted by Nicholas Johnson. We try our best to ramble incoherently about a handful of movies at least once a week.
Well, now that rant is over,
Yeah.
you know what else? Thank God is over.
What?
Us watching Halloween movies.
Yes, I'm very excited about that.
Yeah.
I'm very excited about that. Yesterday.
Had a good time,
Yes.
but also
100%.
too long.
Had a really, really good time, yeah. Do we want to just go off the bat real quick and just try to spitball like a tier list? I'm not saying like S tier, A tier, but like literally like rank them, I guess. Would you like to rank them?
Would you like to do it after we talk about these last two?
I just kind of want to do it now.
Okay, we can do it now.
But we can do it later. Let's do it later. I actually did get a nice reprieve, in a sense, yesterday.
Yes.
Although it was kind of a bit of a shit sandwich because in the middle was more Halloween. And I don't mean that in terms of, like, I hated it so much I'm going to call it a shit sandwich. I just mean, like, in terms of, like, yeah, I got a nice break from the movie. But in the middle of it, it's like, okay, yes, I've seen 10 of these in the last 2 weeks, literally.
It's like when you're on vacation, you're like, okay, I gotta
do a little bit of taxes.
I gotta go back up to the hotel and answer some emails.
Yeah. But yeah, yesterday I went to a 14-hour horror film festival and watched the original 13 Ghosts.
Yeah.
Which
worse?
Much better.
Oh,
much better.
That's a joke.
Imagine it being worse. Imagine it.
Literally,
being worse.
I
couldn't.
Can't. The reaches of my brain don't stretch that far.
Lost Boys.
Never seen it.
Fantastic. It's a little bit Point Break. A lot like 80s, like Goonies, but just in that like general,
not selling it.
General sense, and then vampires and whatnot. Corey Haim and Corey Feldman. The Coreys, yeah, and fucking Kiefer.
Do love me some Kiefer. Biggest mistake in all of video games.
Yeah.
He is Snake in Metal Gear Solid 5, and he never talks.
5 is the one that Halloween rips off.
Exactly.
Or whatever. The other way around, maybe? The same way? I don't know.
It's spoilers, like I said last time. Snake ends up being the medic in that game.
Yeah.
So it makes sense that he has a different voice actor, but it's like, I remember when they made that decision, I was like, David Hayter, who is Snake in all the other games, has such an iconic voice, and it was like, that is Snake.
Yeah.
Why would you change it now after all these years?
Too late.
Like, okay, well, when you first start hearing him, you're like, I do like Kiefer Sutherland, and he does sound like a better, older, more grounded version of this character, and then he says nothing for 40 hours.
Then after that, it was The Blob. Oh, sorry, no. Halloween Kills, then The Blob, but the 80s version, not the original. And then Videodrome. And in general, I guess, while I was watching The Blob, I was thinking of movies like The Blob and The Thing and The Fly and Videodrome, which is a movie actually by David Cronenberg. But just in general, the entire 80s, like, kind of obsession with doing the Cronenberg thing. And just how many blockbusters and, like, classics and cult classics of today from that era do that fucking just disgusting thing where shit looks wet and body horror, whatever you want to call it. And just how we just stopped doing it one day.
Yeah.
We did just for a while, everything was disgusting. I mean, disgusting. And now nothing is. When's the last time you saw a movie and you were like, oh, God, what the fuck?
Last night.
What part?
I have it written down on my notes. But we'll get to it more. But probably my favorite part of Halloween Kills, in general, is Big John and Little John.
Really?
But there's that part where Big John gets stabbed in the armpit and he goes, ah! And
yeah, the armpit kind of got me, and I was like, ooh.
Michael Myers pops his eyes out.
Yeah.
And it's a practical effect.
Yes.
Like,
yeah,
it's like dummy, and like you see
yeah.
his eyes like roll out of his head onto Michael Myers' thumbs and stuff like that. And I was like, ugh.
Yeah.
Loved it. I thought it was great. Sorry, go on.
Anyways, yeah, I don't have a finer point to make other than like, let's be gross again.
Yeah.
Let's do some gross shit.
I'd like movies to make me squirm.
Yeah. You know, it just reminds me of like there's so many movies from that era, and just like growing up, I feel like that would just for some reason, as like a little fuck you, just throw in like the scariest scene you've ever seen in a movie, but in the middle of a children's family movie, just randomly. And it's just one of those things where it's like, why aren't we having fun like that anymore?
Yeah, I'd buy that.
You know, let's just have some fun. Let's be a little gross. Let's throw a little weird shit in there, here and there. Let's just be a little weird. And in 2018, they made another Halloween movie.
True. That's right. Okay, yeah, sorry, hold on. I'm writing my tier list while you're talking.
No worries, but I'll just say that this is the second time in the main chronology, which by that I mean excluding the Rob Zombie remakes. In the main chronology that well, I guess it's the third time if you count that Rob Zombie as... Nah, forget the Rob Zombie, because that's just a straight-up remake. So, yeah, in the main chronology, this is the second time that they've been like, forget all those sequels. This one takes place right after the first one. So, off the bat, this movie in general, it's fine. I enjoyed it.
It's good, yeah.
Yeah. There are things that are very funny about it to me.
Oh, yeah.
Very funny. First 15 minutes, hilarious.
Oh, with the podcasters showing
with the
them
podcasts.
Yeah.
Showing up to that insane asylum. I understand it's a movie. I understand. I've seen Arkham Asylum. I understand that that's not what they look like.
Yeah.
But this one looks wild. I don't know why, but just this yard where they all have squares that they stand in. Very wild. And then, Ewan McGregor, but not quite, goes, I talked to the Attorney General and he let me take this. Pulls out Michael's mask and then holds it up to Michael.
Holds up to his back.
And nothing happens.
He goes, say something.
And that's funny. Objectively. Even funnier to me is that multiple times throughout the movie he tells other people in the film, I showed him the mask. He didn't react to it.
Yeah.
And it's very funny because I don't really understand what he was expecting.
Yeah.
There are a lot of ways in which he could react. Spitball a couple.
How Michael Myers could react?
Yeah. There are millions of ways.
He could murder him.
Yeah.
He could look at the mask and then look away.
Yes.
He could murder the girl. I don't know.
But, like, I guess...
But anything other than him saying nothing and then the wind picking up and all the other crazy people going, oh, oh, oh.
I guess in all... Not all. In mostly seriousness, let's keep it light. What do you think he reasonably expected Michael to do?
I think the whole thing is that, like, from what we know, what Laurie Strode knows, what people involved with this know, is that Michael Myers is this evil monster.
Yeah. Supranatural.
Supernatural.
Not just super, but supra.
And these cool English podcasters are like, we're going to go see Michael and we're going to talk to him and find out how he ticks.
Yeah.
And they're just like, if we show him the mask, that'll get a reaction out of him. And everyone's like, it's not like that, bud. Mm-hmm. It's not. You're getting nothing out of him. And they show him and they get nothing out of him. But I don't know, just the way the scene is shot and the way the music ramps up and the way like he keeps screaming, say something. And then the title flashes. Yeah. Like, that's bad. That's a bad way to start this movie, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I agree with that, mainly because I think by and large this movie's fine. It's pretty all right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hesitate to say good because I could only really say it in the context of being a sequel to Halloween. It's a good sequel to Halloween, for sure. But yeah, this is the, in my opinion, I know I'm nitpicking because it's whatever and it's a throwaway scene in my opinion, but this was a weird step. This is the wrong foot to start the movie.
I feel like even if the scene was them, still go out of your way to not show his face. But the scene was them sitting down at a table in the asylum with him.
That would be even better, actually.
And he was sitting there doing nothing instead of just like kind of turning at them a little bit. Yeah. Or they show it to him and like his head snaps and just stares at it and that's all he does for the rest of the scene. Yeah. But then being outside and talking to his back the entire time, it just didn't do a lot for me.
Yeah, you fixed the scene.
Thank you.
Because that's 100% what I was trying to get at with like it's a weird setup.
Yeah.
They're talking to his back. That was all weird. Anyways, what happens immediately after that? We get the title screen. That's all cool. And then...
Do we get the family? Or do we get them going to see Laurie?
I think they go immediately to Laurie.
Are you sure?
Well, what family? Tell me the family.
The Strodes, her daughter and her granddaughter.
Perhaps.
And the dad.
I like the mom. I like the dad. I like the daughter.
Yes.
I like them. This is a big strength of this movie.
Big strength of this movie is I like everybody.
Dad's funny.
I talked about it when we watched Scream 4. I said, hey, this is just like Halloween 2018. And I think it's the most Danny Bride thing about this movie.
Yeah.
And I think it's one of the biggest strengths is, A, you like everybody.
Yeah.
But B, when there are scenes where characters show up to just die, they're like, okay, we have 1 to 2 minutes to get you to care about these people. So
we're just go do some crowd work.
We're gonna we're just gonna shotgun some jokes, some character specific jokes at you.
Yeah.
Like the guy in the car with his son who's like, listen, Dad, I like hunting with you, and I'll go hunting with you on the weekends.
But I got dance class.
But dance is my passion. It really hits me in the heart. It's like I like these two guys immediately, and then they die. And I like that. I like that very much. So, it does kind of get a little stale after a while, but it's better than just two cops just like, can't believe we're on patrol again, and then dying.
Yeah.
Know? Anyway, we're at the family. Hey, I'm graduating with honors.
Yeah.
Is Grandma gonna come? I talked to her and she ain't coming. But she talked to Grandma herself. She knows Grandma wants to come. And then Dad gets peanut butter on his penis.
Yeah.
Danny McBride joke.
Yeah.
And then we cut to Laurie, them going to go see Laurie.
Sure, yeah.
I feel like this would have been a better introduction for these two characters. Them driving to see Laurie and talking into the microphone and then
100%.
showing up, giving her $3,000.
100%.
Even them just saying, we saw Michael. That would have been better to me.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, this is a moment where we get showed him the mask. He didn't react.
Mm-hmm.
Weird. Always weird. But anyways, I like this scene. I like this idea for Laurie. I just feel like, again, I'm asking too much of the movie. This is serviceable. This is fine. This movie's fine. Much like how you fixed the first scene by just being like, hey, they could sit at a table. I wish it was a little bit more subtle with Laurie.
Yeah.
I wish it was that she was trying to pretend like everything was kind of fine, but everybody could tell that she was still like, hey, we noticed he spent $16,000 putting bars in. But just stuff like that where like they'd be like, Mom, like look at me, because like she just keeps like looking at the door or something like that. And they're like, Mom, relax. Michael's not gonna come to the door right now, kind of a thing. Like, I just wish it wasn't so much her being like 2 guns in her hand, like, you don't understand. Halloween's in 3 days.
Yeah.
I wish it was a little less like that. But it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, I would agree. I feel like her character would be a little bit better if she wasn't 100% of the time like, I'm crazy and I know it, but I'm crazy for a good reason.
Yeah.
It's like if she was just crazy and she knew it, but she was still trying to, like, a scene I really like is when they're at dinner and she shows up. And she's like, so how'd it go tonight? Was it good? Yeah. And she starts drinking that wine a lot.
She seems preoccupied and like paranoid. Yes, that's a great example of what I think she should have been like. Yes. Instead of being, I don't know, it's almost Loomis. Like,
she's the Loomis in this movie.
She
which
is.
I do like.
But in my opinion, she's a little too much like. There's that like peak Loomis in like 4 or 5 where like he'll just enter a room, no context for where his character's been, where his character's coming from,
what he's doing here.
Like, for God's sakes, man, we gotta get eyes on Michael. And, and people are like, oh shit, hey Loomis, when did you get here? You know. So yeah, she's got that chaotic Loomis energy, and I like I said, it's just a personal wish list item. Wish list item number 1: have Michael sitting down across from the table in the first scene instead of standing with his back turned. Wish list item 2 is that perhaps she was like a more subtle, first movie Loomis. And I even think I don't know. That's all I'm gonna say about that. But I do like it's a non-productive conversation, and she's still like, "Not giving me my cash."
Yeah.
Mainly because what she's doing with her house is not cheap.
Exactly.
She needs money.
But she gives it to her granddaughter immediately, which I like.
I
thought that was cute.
I do like that. I think that's cute.
When she's like, I guess I'll put it towards my college fund. She's like, no, go to Mexico, have fun.
Yes.
What a cool grandma.
Yes. Again, it's cute. It's fine that they replicate the Michael scene, but with her instead. Me personally, I'm putting that a little in, for my taste, category of like useless fan service, and you said it and I agree, which is just that like if you look out of your classroom and see your grandmother there,
you don't go, classic grandma. You go, I need to go. Something has to be wrong.
Either my mom died or my grandma has $3,000 in an envelope for me. Either way, I have to know now.
I feel like this movie could have used with half as many
wink, wink, nudge, nudges
to the first movie, especially ones that are like, role reversal with Michael and Laurie.
But again, by and large, fine.
Yeah.
Not offensive. Just a little
a little too a few too many. But yeah, and then you keep going. I don't really remember a lot of the order of this movie.
Well, yeah, we don't have to go through it chronologically. I was just trying to hit some important stuff because it starts important.
Yeah,
I'm
just trying to think.
Well, I guess the whole I don't know. I feel like this is a movie where you kind of got to talk about it scene by scene. Do we get the recreation of the Sam Loomis gas station scene next?
I think so, which is something I'm very proud of.
Yeah.
When we watched Halloween 4, maybe? Or 5? I don't remember. I think it might be 4. Yeah, there's a scene where people get caught up in a gas station by Michael Myers. I was like, oh, fuck, I'm pretty sure this exact scene is in Halloween 2018. I did a little research. It is. So much so that the gas station is meant to be a recreation of that one. So much so that like a lot of props in it are like straight up the same props from Halloween 4.
Yeah.
Which is cool. Something I really like about the scene is I like in Halloween movies and like slasher movies in general, that fun thing that they do where it's nighttime and just out of focus in the background, you can see the killer stalking around, and like, if you keep an eye out, you're like, oh, fuck, there he is. They do that in this, but it's the middle of the day, and he's wearing the hospital outfit, so he's bright white, so he kind of does blend into the background while he's walking around. I like that a lot.
Yeah, this scene's pretty decent.
Yeah.
It's a pretty decent scene. It's a little bit different from the one that happens originally because like Loomis shows up and like Michael's already killed everybody.
Yeah.
And Loomis is like, "Hello, paying customer." And then there's some weird shit where like fire happens and he's like yelling. I think he's like on the ground yelling, or like I think
Michael
he tries
comes
to shoot.
out.
I think he tries to shoot at the car Michael drives away in and stuff, but he definitely does some over the top Donald Pleasant shit. This is a much more sort of suspenseful scene. The kills are brutal, yada yada yada. Her getting stalked in the woman's restroom is pretty rough. It reminds me a bit when she's having to crawl on that disgusting floor. It reminds me a bit of that scene.
Right, I'd be dead.
Where Jamie Lee is like running underneath the tables in H2O.
Yep, love when he puts his hand over and just drops the teeth.
Yeah, it's disgusting. That's actually really cool. I like that
loves, a lot. That's the thing I like about these two.
Yeah.
They really ramp up Michael's theatrics.
Yes.
Love it.
I will say that may be one of the few, because it does happen, that's one of the few times where Michael actually scares me a bit.
Yeah.
In these new movies. Because a big thing that I don't like in these two movies, and it's also fine, because there's a degree to which it's already happened with the Universal Monsters. It happens with the Avengers. It's totally fine. It has happened with the Chucky series. It has happened with Nightmare on Elm Street. It's happened with Friday the 13th, where you're supposed to be kind of rooting for Michael. He's kind of like the joke that I make frequently is that a lot of scenes where he shows up, it feels like they might as well just go dan 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 dan.
And they do a little bit sometimes.
They do a little bit sometimes. But this is one of the scenes where I don't feel like they're doing that. And he does actually intimidate me. And I'm like, geez, shit. Like, I hope she can get away. So this is a good scene in my opinion. I like this one.
Yeah, this one's great. Yeah, I think it is. It's weird in these like new and like just sequels. I feel of slasher movies. Yeah, where you're rooting for him, but you're also rooting for Laurie.
Mm-hmm.
So you're rooting for Laurie when it's the two of them, but when it's him with anybody else, you know that person's gonna die. So you're like, ooh, get him. How's he gonna get him? But in this one, it's very much so. You spend enough time with these two where you're like, ooh, I kind of don't want them to die.
Yeah. This isn't a great example, but I feel like it's passable. There's the young boy who runs away from Michael, and there's our main character, Allison, the granddaughter. Is her name Allison?
Yeah, I think it's Allison.
They both get away from Michael and run. And I feel like that's something you just kind of have to do if you're going to actually try to make a slasher movie these days. To make...
I'm sorry, what part are you talking about?
What's that?
What part are you talking about?
What do you mean, what part am I talking about?
Allison and what young boy run away from him?
This is two separate scenes. There's a young boy who gets
with the
away
babysitter.
from Michael,
Okay, yeah.
and then later on in the film, Allison is just running through the woods or whatever. Anyways, but I feel like this is something like if you were gonna try to seriously make a slasher movie, you'd have to like let some people kind of get away from the killer.
Yeah.
And you'd probably have to let some people sometimes like maybe incapacitate the killer, to just reestablish the idea that your killer is just not a supernatural like thing that's just like an agent of death that will kill whatever comes to the path. Because then you get to the point where it's like just overindulgent and you know exactly what's going to happen, and like it would be more subversive honestly if sometimes the murderer did not murder somebody, you know. But getting ahead of myself, I guess, with the
I mean, I don't think we have to go through this movie scene by scene.
No, this is fine. These are the big chunks that are.
The next thing I really like is, I mean, we just get a bunch of character stuff, and he goes around and kills people. I really like the one shot in this movie. You didn't seem too thrilled with it when I brought it up, but him just walking around the neighborhood, and it's one big long shot, and he goes through someone's backyard into their garage, gets a hammer, kills a lady, picks up her kitchen knife, walks over to the next house, kills the people in there, walks over to the next house.
Yeah.
And I like all that a lot. Like at one point he looks in someone's front window, and then she starts coming to the window, and he leaves, but the camera stays, and you see her looking out the window, and you can see him in the windows in the back walking around, and he comes in through the back door, and it's great. I like it a lot. There's a part in this scene where he walks up to two people getting in their car, and he scares the woman. Yeah. And the husband's like, "Oh, sorry, I forgot my keys. We can go now." They're the two people from Halloween Kills, the doctor and the nurse. I just thought that was fun.
That is fun.
This one for 1 second. But I think the rest of this movie, just the big thing I like is, just to reiterate what we keep saying, I think my biggest example is the babysitter with the kid, Julian.
That kid is very funny. I like that kid a lot.
One of the best parts of this movie. I like Julian a lot. I like the babysitter a lot.
Yes.
I like the shitty boyfriend a lot.
Yeah.
So when he's there killing them, it's just like the gas station scene where I'm like, oh, fuck. I hope they get out of this alive. And I know they don't, but I'm like, I even the other night watching it, I'm like, I've seen this movie, and I'm kind of rooting for them still.
Yeah. Real quick, there's some wild shit with like the psychiatrist stabbing a sheriff in the neck, right? And like trying to get Michael to meet up with Laurie because he thinks it'll like help her, whatever. It's weird, in my opinion. It's odd. It almost works.
I think it doesn't even kind of work.
Well, just in the same way that like you like Halloween Kills, because
we'll get to it.
But it works in that kind of vein where like that's 100% something. Again, listen to the later conversation, you understand what I mean. But that's the kind of thing that like a horror movie would try out in that vein and like whatever. And then also like because in my opinion, from day one, or not necessarily day one, whenever it is specifically in the series that they realize this is a supernatural killer that won't stop at anything, whoever you think he's fixated on, which we'll get to it, but apparently the fixation does not actually exist. But I digress. Whenever you figure out whoever the fixation is, at a certain point, why not offer up? Just offer up. So this all can just be over with. So in that sense, I get what the psychiatrist is going for. Do I like it? I don't like it. But all that shit happens. I have nothing else to say about it. Those were the three things I wanted to say.
I would say I don't love it. But earlier, I don't remember if you remember when I brilliantly fixed the first scene.
Yeah.
Thinking about it, right in this movie, you're like, okay, we're this far in. Laurie lives in this cabin in the woods.
Yeah.
How do we get Michael Myers there?
Yes.
No idea. Honestly, this is probably the best way. The doctor's crazy, and he's like, I'm bringing him there myself.
Yeah.
And, yeah, it's something I wanted to say about this movie. Like, my very clever observation kind of got ruined by the second one, because they were like, oh, that was the plan all along. I do kind of like in this movie that Laurie's like, oh, he's coming for me. He's waiting for me. That's what's happening. And he's not. Mm-hmm. He just kind of ends up there. Yeah. Like, he's just... I mean, realistically, after watching Kills, it's like, no, he's just trying to go home. That's all he's trying to do, and just kills anyone who's in front of him.
Yeah. The rest of the duration, nothing crazy stands out to me. Other than perhaps like Laurie like clearing her house, looking for Michael, hiding her daughter and granddaughter in like the basement and all that kind of stuff. It was all good, and there's the nice twist, which is that the house is actually a trap, not a prison.
Yes.
Yada, yada, yada.
He makes a jack-o'-lantern out of that cop's head. That's was cool.
Dope. Yeah, that's pretty good. But just real quick, is there anything that you want to give more time to in terms of talking about?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think this movie overall, fine.
Yeah.
At the time of watching it, 4th best Halloween movie I had seen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. On our tier list, I think we both agree with that.
Yeah.
It's the best Halloween. No, I was going to say it's the best Halloween 2 I've seen, but no, Rob Zombie's is the best Halloween 2 I've seen. So, yeah, I got nothing much more. There's some role reversals in this. I think all the role reversals probably should have just been in this last scene where she's looking for him. And she's like, oh, he's in the closet. I was in the closet. He's not in the closet. Or when he pushes her over the railing, turns around and then turns back and she's gone. And it's like, oh, it's just like that one.
Yeah.
I think it should have been maybe just those two.
Yeah, and then overall, I understand that they're basically doing, like, she's Loomis now and he's Michael as he's always been, you know, Van Helsing, Dracula, that kind of a thing. It just doesn't feel... It feels fine. This works fine. Again, we've established that. But personal wish list thing, I feel like I've seen that better. For example, Loomis and Michael.
Yeah,
that works so much better for some reason.
I think if Allison was the main character,
yeah,
it would have worked better.
Yeah.
And you just heard about her crazy grandma sometimes.
If you saw less of it and she showed up like Loomis does.
Yeah.
That
yeah, but it definitely... I would say maybe the biggest problem with this movie is it doesn't really have a main character.
Also, I would say that I think it lacks much like, but very also different than the Rob Zombie thing. I think it does lack a lot of the subtlety that the original has still.
Yeah.
I think there are a lot of ways where, even though it's a much more quiet and well-paced movie, and it feels a bit more maybe subtle or classy, if you will, I still think it's a little ham-fisted at times.
Yeah.
Is one of my biggest problems with it. But again, overall, fine. I would say that this is a, like, light, just I don't know, like maybe like the C- area for me. That's where I'm gonna grade it.
I'd give it a C+, B-. Yeah.
Again, not awful. I mean, I'm gonna have to get a sheet and try to scribble down some.
I can give you one. Yeah.
Some rankings. But yeah, I think this might end up technically being 5th for me, just because I personally want to squeeze another one in there that just I feel like gets a nod before this one does, just by default. Just a nod, more of an honorable mention thing where it's just like, I feel like that's just got to slide in there first. But I digress. Overall, like I said, this is fine. Yeah, I would say this is about as good as Scream 4. I think you were on point there, where like it's watchable, it's fun to watch. It does not necessarily feel like you're watching garbage as you watch it, like horror movies can sometimes. But at the end of the day, my biggest problem being that it's the millionth retread of an idea, and there's nothing wrong with retreading an idea because brilliant things can happen. I mean, I think about how many fucking movies about a haunted house there are, or how many movies about a vampire there are. But to specifically be, you know, the 11th or the 12th in a series doesn't bode well for anyone but James Bond, it seems like. Yeah.
The way I feel about this movie, more so than most Halloween movies, if I was at a party with a group of people, someone was putting it on like, oh, so-and-so hasn't seen this yet, or putting it on because I like this movie, I'd be like, oh, cool, I'll watch this movie right now. Yeah. There's bits and pieces of it that I like. None of it is hard to watch. None of it makes me angry or annoyed. Yeah. And I think it's a good time. Decent movie. Well worth the effort. And, not setting the world on fire, not reinventing the wheel.
For what it is, like I said, it's fine.
Exactly.
Yeah. Halloween Kills.
Chris, what did you think? Just only your unadulterated opinions and thoughts on the critically panned Halloween Kills. To
be fair, I have not actually legitimately sought out any any actual criticism, but I am well aware of the fact that it's critically panned. I can tell you there was a point where I checked Peacock TV and it had a rating of like 59, and then I checked like earlier today and it's down to like 38 already.
Yep.
So it seems like as more and more people are seeing it, it just keeps going down and down the drain. I can tell you that sitting in that movie theater and watching it for at least Alicia says longer, but at least the first 45 minutes, I legitimately kept thinking, what is this movie doing? Where is it going? And what is happening right now?
Mm-hmm.
Because almost nothing happens for a while. It spends a lot of time with just the aftermath of the earlier film. And I think, complaint one comes just from like it failing to get traction for what feels like forever for me.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And then just overall, I did not have fun really. This was a movie where I was definitely checking my watch. To be fair, this was the third movie in a series of of an all-day horror marathon that I was watching. And again, also to be fair, this is the only like unadulterated bad movie that I saw yesterday. Came hot off of 13 Ghosts. While not scary, a very fun time capsule. 1960s William Castle, played for laughs, very funny. Legitimately very funny. Whole audience was laughing. It is crazy to be in an audience full of people laughing at a movie from like 1964 or 68 in black and white. And then we watched The Lost Boys, which again just had people cheering for shirtless men covered in oil playing sax at night on the beach.
Hell yeah.
For an audience of people and stuff. And
maybe I will see Lost Boys.
Yeah, Kiefer Sutherland and stuff like that. And then here comes this thing.
This thing.
Well, like I said, more so than the first one, this one seems more like they just kind of lost the plot. It doesn't like the first one, at least to me, felt one of the biggest compliments I can give it, like it was going somewhere.
Yeah.
And then I feel like with this one, they tried 3 separate times to be like, man, we're going here. And shit. Okay. Oh, God, we're going here. It's just, I would say it's a mess of a movie almost, perhaps. Almost as much of a mess as this rant has been. My little ramble. What did you think?
I think that you said nothing that was untrue.
Yeah.
But as we all know, I'm kind of the bad boy of the podcast.
Yeah, baby.
I'd say you're the sex pot of the podcast, and I'm the bad boy.
What does sex pot mean?
You fuck.
Oh, okay.
You fuck. People want to fuck. I fucking loved this movie.
Hell yeah.
Unadulterated.
Nice.
Starting it.
Just, go on.
Starting it immediately. I'm driving home.
How does it start again, specifically?
It starts. That's a great question. I just watched it again today, and I don't remember. It doesn't start.
Doesn't bode well. I'm kidding.
No,
no, this is not a movie that starts strong.
It doesn't start in this. It starts with the boyfriend finding Hawkins on the ground,
which is fine actually. I'm not that bad about it.
Yeah, my first experience with this movie is I'm driving home from work. I get a text message from Chris that says this new Halloween is terrible. And earlier that day, I'd seen a trailer where Michael Myers walks out of the burning building with an axe in his hand, and I was like, oh no. And then you texted me, and I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
And then I'm watching this. Boyfriend calls his friend. He's like, hey man, keep getting your voicemail. I messed up real bad with Allison. I need to find her. If you know where she is, call me, okay? And then it cuts to his dead friend and his phone in his pocket, and it sounds like the voicemail's coming out of his phone.
Mistake.
And I was like, okay, teenagers don't leave voicemails. That's not how voicemails work. This movie's going to be bad. And then it cuts to Haddonfield, 1978. And I was like, oh no, this movie's going to suck. And it takes place right after 1978 Halloween, this little flashback. Loomis just shot him and he disappeared, and the cops are looking for him. And it just feels weird and just really off. And my only praise for it was I was like, well, I do really like that they got actors that look like younger versions of the older actors instead of doing CGI youngifying on them.
Yes.
I was like, so I really appreciate that. And as soon as I said that, a CGI Loomis burst into the front door.
Yeah.
which I'm kind of blown away by.
Yeah.
Especially as the movie went on. I don't know how they did that.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's CGI. I don't know if he's another actor. And I don't know if it's old footage or not. Because when he first came in, I thought it was just unused footage.
Yeah.
That they kind of comped into that scene.
Mm-hmm.
And then later, he kind of looks like a different actor. But he's always, like, kind of standing half in a shadow.
Yeah.
So that might be why it works so well. And then this movie just kind of goes on and on and on and on. And there's that weird scene with the bar with Anthony Michael Hall, who's playing Paul Rudd.
Yeah.
And I thought that was weird. I think Lonnie sucks ass, the little kid that they introduced in the flashback.
Yes.
To make him part of that group.
I don't like a lot of the retconning. I don't like that. I don't like the sheriff talking about how, like, hey, my ma used to bring me over to play with him. He was weird. He'd always stand on the window just looking out on the town.
I get that. I think my biggest thing about Lonnie is, you know, Tommy.
We've seen him twice. We see him in like 2, maybe 3 scenes.
No, like Tommy Doyle's talking. He's like, "Hey, and this is I was getting babysit, and I had to run away from him, and that sucked." Her
and this
over
guy
there,
bumped into him.
Yeah, her over there. Her babysitter got murdered. She was attacked by him. Lonnie saw him. Anyway,
yeah.
And then eventually we get to Laurie Strode's house.
Yeah.
Oh, I do like how that bar scene ends with Laurie. To wherever you are, Laurie. Cheers and be safe. Then it cuts to her bleeding out in the back of that pickup truck, which I don't think we've talked about. Seems like a nice little nod to Texas Chainsaw.
Yeah, I was thinking about that when I was watching it in the theater. Can't wait to watch that movie. That's one of my faves.
I did write down here in my note, the window shit is dumb. His obsession with looking out the window is kind of dumb.
Yeah.
But I will say, when it gets to the scene where all
you got a lot of notes.
Just this page.
Oh, okay.
The firefighters show up.
Yeah.
And he comes out of the burning building.
Yeah.
And the music's kind of like dun 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 dun. Great. Love the music in all this movie. John Carpenter knocking it out of the park again. And he starts taking on the firefighters.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, this is what this movie is.
Yeah.
This is what this movie's going to be. And from then on, I was like, I absolutely love this. Mm-hmm. It was something I kept telling you yesterday when we were talking about it.
Yeah.
Personally, I think both me and you love a good, spooky Michael Myers. Mm-hmm. He's always in the shadows, more or less just a man.
I like more or less just a man, yes.
I think it's the best way that Michael Myers works. I don't care too much for supernatural Michael Myers.
Mm-mm. I don't want the mask to do anything. I don't want the Thorn cult.
Yeah.
I don't want him to be doing this for some higher purpose.
But
the greater good.
After seeing all 12 of these, all 13 of these, we cannot deny that for most of the time, Michael Myers is supernatural. Mm-hmm. So, like the last one we watched, where it was like, hey, Michael Myers, this is going to be... We're going to try to, as much as possible, while still being a little bit new, give it the 1978 treatment where he's just a guy stalking around the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And I like that this one's like, okay, we're kind of doing the wacky sequels now.
Yeah.
And so for him to just fuck up those 6 or 7 firefighters, I was like, oh, awesome. I love this. Because in all the other ones I watched, where he's weird supernatural Michael Myers, they were just boring.
Yeah.
And he was just this immovable force that just tore through everything. And that's exactly what he is in this one.
Yeah.
But I'm interested in it the entire time. I like watching it. I had fun watching this movie. Yeah. And that would be the biggest compliment I could give to this movie. I had fun throughout the whole thing. Did I think it was great? Do I think this is a good movie? No, not really.
Yeah.
But I think it's a great time.
Apart from my own personal taste for a moment, I would say that this, I think, has the potential to be objectively a bad move on their part.
Yeah.
Just because of the way people are responding. Mm-hmm. I think them, like, let's just say, like, you know, for a second that perhaps that's what they were trying to do. They were trying to do one of the wackier sequels. I don't know if it's the right call to lean into that when the whole reason why the genre died was because it got so wacky.
I think this movie, the last movie, and the next movie, all 3 of these were written with them in mind, being like, there's going to be 3 of these.
Yeah.
So, first one is original spooky Michael Myers. Mm-hmm. This one starts to ramp up into supernatural Michael Myers. I don't know what the third one's going to be.
GoPros.
GoPros. It's all going to be shot with GoPros.
How bitchin' would it be if the third one was just like Season of the Witch, though? It had nothing to do with Michael.
He dies immediately.
That'd be great. Do another Season of the Witch, baby. Do another Season of the Witch.
But that being said, I appreciate that. And it also kind of leads to what you were saying with, like, this movie never really feels like it gets a foothold. And things are just kind of happening and building up and happening and building up. And then nothing really happens. It's because it's the Empire Strikes Back of these movies. It's the middle movie. It doesn't really have a beginning. It doesn't really have an end, you know? Just people doing shit. But that being said, love this movie.
Yes.
So much fun. Look at my notes. Do you have anything else to say about it?
Yeah, I've got a couple of things.
Oh, I think the intro riffs. I think they were killing it with these intros.
Yeah.
All the pumpkins, the last one's on fire.
That was crazy. That was really, they were going off on that. I'm going to say, since you have so many notes, that more than likely the things I have to say will be able to be Frankenstein style stitched onto whatever you bring up.
Okay.
So go ahead and start reading.
After the firefighters don't really... Fuck, we'll probably go back to the bar.
Yeah, let me talk about that, I guess. I personally didn't like it. I understand entirely what you mean. Just for my taste, I didn't need to see him take on 20 firefighters like Batman. That's just all I have to say. It's just my thing. Like I said, I definitely get what you mean. It has an appeal. It's definitely a choice. Nothing wrong with it objectively, but subjectively. Hashtag not my president.
I mean, yeah, I think just like I keep saying, my biggest thing is watch so many of these awful movies where he's just a big unstoppable monster that I didn't give a shit about. Yeah. And this movie, he's a big unstoppable monster. I'm like, fuck, even though this isn't my cup of tea, fucking probably the best way I've ever seen Michael Myers be a big unstoppable monster.
I just wish, I guess as a whole, they came to a better point about what that is or what that means, because they spend some time at the end talking about how he's fear and how he's trauma, and that the idea of him being a big unstoppable monster is because those are two things that are not necessarily stoppable.
Yeah.
But then there are moments where, like, the sheriff goes like, yeah, Jesus Christ, if only we had known that then.
Then what?
Then what if you had known it then? And yeah, I feel like there would be a better, I can't spitball you an example, but I feel like there's a better way for them to come to a point with that, which is, again, not something these movies as a whole, like sequels to slasher films, have to do, you know, throughout the 80s and the 90s. But I feel like these movies are attempting a little bit to, like, say something, because they try to say something a couple of times.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, then, like, I've seen them do better, not necessarily at, like, making a statement, but at just, like, handling things well, that I feel like they could have handled making the statement better. And, yeah, like, that doesn't end up coming really to too much of a point to me.
Well, I think
personally,
that's going to come to a point in the next
third one. Yes, it's the middle child.
I think this one more so is like we said a couple weeks ago. The original one is more so like this stranger, this evil is coming into this neighborhood.
Shape, baby.
Exactly, and it's a metaphor for what's happening to people in the 70s. And this one is the town turning to this mob mentality, which is what's happening today here and there.
Into that.
True, but I don't think the original Halloween leads into their theme that hard either. Yeah. You know, it's just something that's kind of there.
Sure.
And in the original,
boy, do they try to make a point about it. I mean, there's literally a point where
someone trips a bunch of doctors down a bunch of stairs.
Well, yeah, but not only that, but like Laurie calls them sheep and then knees a doctor in the balls.
Yep.
And then they all start chanting a slogan, "Evil dies tonight," like they're like the Trump crowd and stuff. And I feel like they're definitely trying to say something. But again, it's one of those things where like it almost plays out exactly like Halloween 4, where like the good old boys shoot like Davey.
It's Halloween 2. I keep telling you, it's Halloween 2.
Is it Halloween 2?
It's Halloween 2.
I was just talking to Will, and Will was like, "Oh, at Halloween 4, when all the yokels shoot the guy."
Well, Will's got dick for brains because it happens in Halloween 2. I almost guarantee it.
But anyways,
in Halloween 2, might be my favorite part of Halloween 2 is when they send the good old boys to go get Michael Myers, and in this one, that's kind of the whole movie.
But it's not though. It's just that little bit, and then they talk that like maniac into like falling off the not talk to, but like scare him into jumping off the thing, and then that's just kind of over with.
No, because then the rest of the town shows up to beat the shit out of Michael Myers at the end. Not the rest of the town, but still a big group of them show up to beat Michael Myers up at the end.
But my point being that like that point is when they're like, oh geez, we're the monsters.
Yeah,
that's
and then
something. The movie goes on to them still doing the thing that they just said they were monsters for trying to do.
Yes, that's something I don't like.
Yeah,
I read it down on my notes. Tommy Doyle goes, "Oh, Judy Greer, I'm so sorry, but and she goes, Tommy, you sent my daughter out to go hunt down a psychopath, and an innocent man just died." And then she goes, "Ugh, it's not like any of us are innocent anyway." And I'm like, Judy Greer, you definitely are, just so you know. You did everything you could to stop this, and I think a lot of other people who weren't in this mob are innocent tonight.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, yeah, I think it is still very strange that he's just like, oh, look, I fucked up. It's real bad. I shouldn't have done it, but I'm going to go keep doing this.
Yeah. So that's just what I'm trying to say about the movie as a whole. Is like there are multiple points where like it almost comes to a point just to end up like it'd almost be like if I was like, this is a very low stakes version, but if I was like, man, you know what? I'm going to be pre-diabetic just like my father if I keep doing this kind of shit.
Yeah.
And then like 10 minutes later, you saw me like just drinking a 2-liter straight out of the bottle.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
I think this movie does a lot of stuff, and it tries to do a lot of stuff, and it doesn't stick the landing on most of it.
Yeah, not even stick the landing. It just doesn't stick with it. Just doesn't see it through. Is what I mean.
Yeah.
Also, yeah. They just don't. They don't see it to a conclusion. They don't even try an ending. They just stop at a certain point.
Well, yeah, like I said, this is the second movie, so yeah, just gonna kind of stop at a point.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I don't hate it for that. I don't. Again, with nothing I'm saying here, I'm not gonna argue with you and be like, oh, it's actually really smart, Chris.
Yeah.
There's levels here. I just think this movie's very surface level, but what's on the surface level, I enjoy.
Yeah.
There's the old couple who live next door to Laurie Strode, and they see her house on fire. The ones that are playing with the drone.
They're very cute.
Very cute. Just more good old-fashioned Danny McBride dialogue. You like these people immediately. Yes. And then Michael Myers shows up. I love him. He's like, honey, there's a big fellow with a mask on in her bathroom. What does he want? Who gives a shit? Call the cops.
Yeah.
I like that scene a lot. More theatrics. I thought this scene was not genuinely, but I think it's pretty scary. He kills both of them, and then she's still alive, and he drags the husband into the room so she can watch him kill him.
Yeah.
He's just testing out knives on him just over and over and over again until he gets to the last one. He's like, I'm taking this one with me. I liked all that stuff a lot.
Yeah, her getting stabbed in the neck was very gross.
Oh, yeah. Just with the tube light, and it just fills up with blood immediately. Oof.
Just the noise, more so than anything. They really hammed up the noise. Oof.
And then you get the bar with all the survivors and stuff like that. Don't like all their phones going off and them going, oh my God, turn up the news. We're getting exposition from the news.
Yeah.
But I do like that on the news, they go, there are still two psychiatric people at large, and they show Michael and they show the guy that dies later. So, or the guy that ends up being in the woman's car when she goes outside.
Yes.
So it makes sense that people would confuse the two of them.
Yes, I do like that. And I do like it setting up the idea of like them becoming the Frankenstein mob and how that's not a good thing.
One of my favorite things from the original Halloween is when, I can't remember the babysitter's name, but one of them goes outside into her car and the windows are all foggy from the inside because Michael's in the car waiting for her. I like that when they go out to the car in the bar here. Windows are all foggy from the inside because that guy's waiting inside. And then we get arguably best part of this movie, Big John and Little John.
Yeah, him getting stabbed in the armpit really didn't. I didn't like that. I've never seen that in a horror movie.
You ever been punched in the armpit?
I have not. Have you? Is that why you're bringing it up?
Yeah, you have
or are
like
you threatening me.
No, you have like a bunch of like nerve endings in your armpit. I used to get punched in the armpit as a kid by some neighbor kid all the time. That shit hurts so bad.
Yeah, I don't like it. I can only, like I said, like it's one of those things where I feel like it's a very vulnerable area that doesn't necessarily get addressed as being as vulnerable as it is in horror films and stuff like that. So to see it, it's one of those things where you're like, oh fuck yeah, that would be like an awful place. It's like so vulnerable. Ooh.
I love that they live in the Myers house. Love the look of the Myers house in this one.
Yeah,
these guys know how to decorate. That's another thing. This paying homage to all the shitty over the top ones. This movie fucking ends in the Myers house, Chris.
Yeah, which is very funny because when we were watching the first one, I actually said, I was like, I'm not gonna put all my money on it because there's a good chance it doesn't happen. But I would put money on either A, they end up there, or the movie ends there.
Yeah,
and it did not happen. It happened in the sequel. But it did not happen.
And I love it. I love it for it.
I'm not mad about it.
But, yeah, I love these two. Kids prank them. I don't know. I just like all of them throughout this movie. I love when he's just making the honey. He's talking about bees. And he's like, my mom used to keep bees before she died. And I love when they hear the knock at the back door.
Yeah.
And no one's there. He's like,
I do like that. And then it goes around to the front. Yes.
And then he's like, Big John, someone's in our house, and it's not a kid. And Big John goes, oh, fuck that, and takes off his wristbands and his watch and his rings and his silk thing. I love it so much. And then, love when he gets his eyes popped out, and it's a practical effect.
Yeah, that was
I'd like
pretty
to see
gruesome,
more practical effects in movies.
Yes.
We talked about this not too long ago, I think.
Beginning of the podcast, baby.
No, I just mean a different podcast. I'm pretty sure we talked about how we miss practical effects.
Yes.
I'm just going to keep on Big John and Little John right now. Just mixing up parts of the movie. Later at the end of the movie, when Allison and her boyfriend show up there, after his dad goes in, fuck, I'm just going to talk about this scene real quick. Lonnie, who's the boyfriend's dad, who's the kid who saw him once in 1978. I timed it. I love that he brings him there and goes, I shouldn't have brought you guys here. I'm going to go in. You see anything, honk, okay? And then he goes in, you hear a gunshot, and they go in.
Yes.
And it's quiet, which means from the time that he went in to the time that they go in, means that Lonnie dies within 20 seconds, which is so fucking funny to me.
Yes.
But yeah, and then they go in there, and then like he turns the record on that they were listening to, just more of his theatrics, and then it like pans over to a picture of the two of them, Big John and Little John, on a beach, and then when she comes in and sees the scene, like a good 15-20 seconds later, he's laid them out like they are in that photograph. Love that.
Yeah, that's neat. I like that.
Let's see, what's after Big John, Little John? You remember the funny best friend from the last movie that dies on the fence?
Yeah.
His dead body is in the hospital.
Oscar.
Yes.
Don't know why I remember his name more than some of the other characters.
You see his dead penis like twice.
Yes. Yeah. And I did notice that, and I was like, hey.
Very distracting.
It is, yeah. But it was also one of those things where I was like, there we go.
So distracting, I put it down on my notes. I'd say the biggest problem with all the mob mentality stuff.
Yeah.
Is watching it, I was like, okay, this is really cool. Besides the little bit in Halloween 2, not 4, they go, the whole town is just pissed. And they're like, we're going to find this guy, and we're going to fucking kill him. If it's all of us together, he can't kill all of us. So we all have to be together on this thing. Okay? Now let's split up. So it's just two of us at a time.
Yeah.
And then it just plays out like a normal movie, and that sucks. That really, really sucks. Like when they go to the park, I'm like, why are there just fucking 4 of you here? And then when they show up on that crime scene, they intersect with Tommy Doyle. I'm like, Tommy Doyle, why are you out here by your fucking self? Yeah. And so, yeah, really the only time you get them, like you were saying earlier, is all of them killing the wrong guy at the hospital, and then all of them at the end. Not all of them, but a big group of them at the end beating the shit out of Michael Myers. So really it is just him again hunting down 2 or 3 people at a time. I like when they're at the park and the Brady kids are like, oh yeah, we're waiting for our friends, and also there's some creepy pervert out here with a mask trying to play hide and seek with us.
Yes.
I like the acting from the kids. That felt very cool and genuine. They just felt like legitimate shitty kids. I liked him killing them in the car. I thought it was all pretty cool. I like him smashing his hand down on the window just like he did to that same woman in the first Halloween. I think him stabbing through that guy through the eye into the brain was extremely brutal. But maybe my favorite kill in this movie is when he kicks the car door open and makes that woman shoot herself in the face. And I love when they come and find them and all the kids are wearing the Halloween 3 masks, or all the dead bodies are wearing the Halloween 3 masks. Very fun. Fuck, what else do I like about this movie, Chris? There's so much. Oh, when they're in the park and what's-her-face is running away from him. She's hiding behind that tree.
Ah, yeah, very Lord of the Rings.
Very Lord of the Rings.
Very Predator.
Very Predator. I liked that scene.
Yes.
It was pretty...
Again, it's exactly
a little tense.
Oh, what's that?
So it was a little tense.
Yes. It's that exactly the thing I was saying earlier, where like sometimes someone's got to get away from him.
Yeah. And I really, the music stood out to this scene the most. In the entire movie, in this scene to me.
Okay.
It's just some weird synthy like it's just like weird like just it's hyper and tense at the same time. It's cool. It's not like just like a weird like droning or something like that. It's just like a very like it felt very very John Carpenter. Loved it a lot. And I don't think I have that much more. I don't think I really have that many more notes. I do like the Chekhov's gun fake out where they're in the hospital and Allison wraps up the knife in her t-shirt and puts it under her pillow and she goes, in case you need this later. And I was like, okay, this movie's gonna end with Michael in the hospital and her grabbing that knife. It's gotta, but it doesn't happen. Instead, the Chekhov's gun in this movie is the pitchfork that they have as the Halloween decorations. I liked that. And then just blew me away at the end of this movie when finally everybody catches up to him and they're like, we're kicking your ass, Michael Myers. It's gonna happen.
Yeah, I like that they're just like I know that they're trying to kill him, but it really does play out like, hey, heard you asked my girl to the dance.
exactly.
Yeah, I think it looks very nice though. That it's like it feels like it's slightly in slow motion, and like Michael will just be lit from behind on like a backdrop of like black.
Because I think it's just supposed to just evoke that there's the headlights from the cars next to him.
Yeah, and it does that very well, and I think that's a very striking visual.
Yeah.
I think it's really neat. I'd love to see it more other places. Yeah, it's definitely a look that I don't feel like I've ever seen before. The closest thing it reminded me of, like I said, is like some of your action figure photography.
And that's just because I own one light.
Yeah. But it's neat. It's a striking visual.
Yeah. And, I like that while she's back at the house calming her daughter down and be like, everything's okay. Cuts back to Jamie Lee Curtis, and she's like, everything is not okay. This man is evil. Dr. Loomis knew it. The more he kills, the stronger he gets.
Yeah.
And then literally he just gets up and just starts fucking everybody up. And it is just so wild. And I love it. And then he kills Judy Greer, and it's over. Also, she sees baby Michael Myers in the window. Don't know what that's about. I hated all the stuff with Hawkins, his backstory, and him being like, oh, I could have shot him, but I just saw somebody's baby boy there. It's like, hey, I could have done without all of these flashbacks. Literally every single one of them did not need to be in this movie.
Yes. But it's interesting.
All that money you spent making a fake Donald Pleasance didn't need to happen.
But yeah, it's interesting. This is the second time they've attempted the idea of same night. Right?
Yes.
And it reminds me a bit of, because as much as I don't think the movie works overall, there are plenty of small moments that I do like. As noted, I would nod as you were saying things. I say, yes, I also like that. Not just physically, but verbally, I would say yes. But it reminds me a bit of being the second outing, in a sense, like Dracula compared to like Horror of Dracula or Nosferatu. Wish list item that I think would have helped this a bit is, but again, it doesn't work again. It's just a magic you couldn't recapture. I think one of the things perhaps then, because I'm not going to say wish list because I don't think it would work, but one of the things that also hurts it in terms of something it didn't do wrong, because it couldn't have done anything about this. It really couldn't have. But something I do like about Halloween 2, the original, is again like that feeling, and it's also a product of the time of the 70s, that like news hasn't broken yet. and he's just wandering around, and like maybe you'll hear someone like listening to the radio and be like, "Oh dear," but like you're like, "Oh fuck, he's already in your house." That'd be so awful. Like it's such classic like.
I think they do it in the last one.
At some point. Yeah, but it's such classic like that urban legend about like two people making out at the makeout point, and the news is like, all points bulletin, a maniac is broken out, and the lady being like, we gotta go home, and when they get home, the hooks and the thing or whatever.
Yep.
Just that thing where like, imagine if you got an Amber Alert in your phone, and then you like looked up and there's like a man with a gun and a child he'd kidnapped, and you're like, oh my god,
this is my responsibility.
Yeah. Or he's gonna make me go somewhere. Do you want the Prius? Take the Prius. I didn't see you. I don't know you.
Yeah. There's a lot about this movie I hate. There's like just a lot of lines here and there, and just the way characters act. Like when they go and get Allison at the hospital, and they're handed out guns from the trunk of the car. Like, oh, you get this, and you get this, and you get this handgun, and you get this handgun, and she just pulls out a giant shotgun from the back of this guy's truck.
She's like, stopping the power.
She's like, Michael Myers has haunted this place for 40 years. That ends tonight. It's like,
yeah.
No?
There's a lot of that shit.
There's a lot of that shit in this
so
movie.
much so that, like I said, like I saw this with 4 people, and 2 of them assumed based on the marketing that like, oh, this is going to be the one where Jamie Lee Curtis like kills Michael. But yeah, the evil dies tonight thing, and exactly the line you just said. I would say there's a lot. I've seen enough horror movies to know that Michael Myers was not going to die in this movie.
Yeah.
I've seen enough of
it. He better die in the next one.
Yeah, if they're calling it Halloween Ends.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's something I did like. Was it the first movie? I think it happens. It is the first movie where they do the Michael's not laying in the lawn switcheroo, but Michael is seeing Laurie not laying in the lawn. That's good. I like that. The first one.
I like just a small thing I noticed, or I really liked watching it yesterday, especially since we just watched the first one. The first one, they're at dinner with the new boyfriend, and he's like, "Oh, I used to hang out with your dad as a kid all the time. He used to sell me peyote." Oh yeah,
and there's the peyote line again in this.
Yeah, one, and he's like, "Oh, your dad used to sell me peyote."
His reflection and jumped in the water after taking his trousers off. Yeah.
And she burst into tears because it's insane to think about watching this movie. It's like, oh yeah, her dad's been dead for 90 minutes maybe.
Yeah, I will say that that's something that I think this movie loses sight of in a sense, like as a viewer more so, is it doesn't actually feel like later that night to me.
It feels like tomorrow night even.
Yeah.
It's just like this is a very long
time.
Night. Yeah. But no, I like that she's, her and the boyfriend are still wearing the Bonnie and Clyde costumes.
But yeah, it's definitely one of those things where like I think one of the biggest problems I have overall is like I understand that traumatic events still haunt an area, I'm sure in the neighborhood of Columbine there are probably people who still get together and have coffee and talk about it, and they have therapy and stuff like that, and yada yada yada. But just the vigor with which these people seem to care about a guy who 40 years ago killed like 3 or 5 people, there's a degree to which like the way that they're acting feels like it's more justified if this chronologically is the 9th movie.
Yeah.
For it to only be the second one, it feels a little bit like, have you been tormented that much by this? Well, just an example real quick is like Cameron being like, we're going to go get this son of a bitch or whatever.
Yeah.
And I get that like his dad bumped into Michael on Halloween, and that's very scary.
I think it's more so just into the commentary of the movie of the mob mentality. But it very much so seems in this and the last one. Yeah. People know about it, but like that kid says in the last one, so 4 kids died 40 years ago. Yeah. Big deal.
Which is a line that like, he immediately goes, oh shit, I shouldn't have said that, whatever. But like, yeah, I kind of feel that a little bit.
It's like, yeah, I get it. No, absolutely. Yeah. And then in this one, a few more people end up dying. Yeah. And Tommy Doyle goes, it's happening again. It's happening again. Yeah. And he points to the news, and everyone's like, oh, fuck, it's happening again. Yeah. You know what, Tommy Doyle? You're right. Yeah. Let's go kill this guy. Yeah.
And again, it reminds me of the Frankenstein thing.
And then while they're trying to go out and stop him after he killed 2 people, they're looking in the wrong place, and he kills I think like 25 more people in this movie.
But yeah, because of dealing with that, this movie does also bring Frankenstein to mind quite a bit. Nothing to say there other than like, yeah, I mean, that's definitely the classic, like, you spend so much time with the monster that he's not really a monster. And yet by the end of the movie, all these angry villagers want to kill him because they think he did this or he did that. And, by the end of it, you're like, don't kill the monster. You guys are the monsters. You guys are the monsters. Nah. You just don't understand.
Except in this one, he also is the monster. Yes. There's a line you brought up to me yesterday where it goes off of what I was saying when I thought I was very smart about the last movie, where it's like, no, he's just kind of hanging out. Mm-hmm. But Hawkins goes, he's not after you, Laurie. He's just a 6-year-old boy in the body of a man with the mind of an animal. And you went, well, then which one is he?
Yeah, like, how does that break down? There's
exactly.
3 parts to a 2-part. Usually it's mind and body, I guess. Like, does he have, like, the soul of a 6-year-old and the body of a man with the mind of an animal? I don't know. Again, it's one of those things where, like you say, this is a fun movie. Doesn't need to be dug into. I mean, that's the kind of shit that, like, and also it's one of those things where, like, people just say shit sometimes.
Yeah.
People just say shit. Yeah. And you know what they mean.
Yeah.
I mean, in real life. I'm not even talking about in movies. And so in movies, you can do the same shit. My mom might say some shit to me like that. Oh, whatever happened to your ex-boyfriend? She'd be like, I don't know. It's a fucking 6-year-old boy in the body of a man with the mind of an animal. And then you'd laugh. So whatever. He's just spitballing. He hasn't thought about it. He's off the dome.
He's in a hospital bed. He's on a lot of drugs.
He got stabbed in the neck with a scalpel. And that's Hawkins talking off the dome. Do you think that he'd
Welcome
be
back
talking
to
that well?
Hawkins.
That's
he'd
good.
be able to what?
Do you think he'd be talking that well if he'd just been stabbed in the throat with a scalpel?
Absolutely not, no.
I don't think he would live through that. But that's fine. This is a movie. Mm-hmm. This is not real life. And stranger things have happened in real life. But that dude got fucked. I can't believe they... But, I mean, that's also, it lends credence to your thing, your idea that this is them trying to do, the shitty sequel,
mm-hmm.
Kind of tongue-in-cheek, but also well. I'll ask you this question real quick. Do you think that this is perhaps at this moment a misunderstood movie? And that with the passing of time, a significant passing of time, this will be a movie that's re-examined?
I'd like to think so.
Yeah.
There's nothing I want more than for specifically you to enjoy this movie in some shape or form.
Yeah.
I think if this movie...
I'd have to give it some time. But I'd have to rewatch it later. But as of now, it was not.
I got Peacock for another 6 days. So. I think if this movie came out in 1984,
mm-hmm.
it had been one of the movies we had watched,
and
it looked a little shittier, it was
mm-hmm.
a little bit older, and we watched it, I think me and you would have absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
But
it's a very cute thing to say. I like this fantasy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think, it being a new movie, you mm-hmm. seeing it in the middle of a movie marathon after just watching the other one last night and The Lost Boys, and having that
so dreamy in that fucking.
Oh yeah. But you just having that expectation of it being, the sequel that was supposed to be like, oh, back to the roots where Michael's just a man, and now they're like, psych, he's a monster now in this one. I understand why people don't like it. I understand why critics don't like it, but yeah, I don't know. Just as soon as he started killing those people, and I was like, oh, this one's going to be a little wacky.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'm into that.
Yeah,
I can truck with this for what this movie is.
For the sake of laughs, I'd like to quote Alicia for a moment. There was a point where I was complaining about the first firefighter scene,
mm-hmm.
and she was like, and they had the audacity to do it again.
Yeah.
Which is very funny. But like you say, that's what they were going for. Again, that's fine. But yeah, I definitely laughed very hard when she said that, because I was like, yeah, shit, I didn't even think about it, but yeah, they straight up did that twice.
Yeah. Last night when you guys came back and we were talking about it, she was like, what did you think about it? I was like,
because in the car, I swear to God on the Bible.
Yeah.
She was like, I can't wait to hear what Nick thinks about it, or something like that. And I was like, yeah, there's a pretty good chance, like based on the way that he texted me, that he liked it. And she was like, there's no fucking way. And I was like, I don't know. We'll have to see. And that was like while we were sitting in the driveway that we had that back and forth. Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, I don't know. And she's like, oh, I thought it was terrible. And I was like, yeah. We talked about
probably
it.
Came that hard out of the gate expecting you to agree. Because like I said, like there are multiple times where like we've had that conversation about a movie before. Like I've been like, oh yeah, Nick's gonna watch it too, or whatever it is, yada yada yada, and she'll be like, oh, what do you think? And I'm like, there's a chance you're gonna like it, and she'll be like, wow, I just don't know Nick.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, yeah, you don't. You see him sometimes,
I really wanted to save it for the podcast, but no, I said it. We were sitting right there, and I was like, I think I loved it, and she was like, wow, okay, okay.
She's probably spinning.
And I know. I was like, I think that's the only time I've ever been able to physically see someone in someone's face during a conversation that I just lost them. Just lost them 100%.
Okay, well, we've had enough fun. Would you like to now reveal? I want to see how close these overall lists are. You can go first.
My list goes Halloween 1978.
Okay. Why? No, I'm kidding.
Number 2, Halloween 3.
Yeah.
Season of the Witch.
And do you want to say anything real quick about it? Just real quick.
Halloween 3.
Yeah, just why does it deserve the second slot, I guess?
I like it for the same reason I like Halloween Kills.
Uh-huh.
It's just wild.
Yeah.
And it's wild, and I wouldn't call it a good movie, but I am so entertained by it, and it has me the entire time.
Yeah.
And I love it, and I have a blast with it. Halloween 1 is number 1 because it's those things, but it's not bad. Nothing about it's wacky. I'm like, this is just good.
Objectively.
And I'm having fun watching it.
Yeah.
Number 3, Rob Zombie's Halloween 2.
Pour one out.
Don't got much more to say about that. We talked about it for so long.
I could talk about it some more.
Number 4, Halloween Kills.
Okay.
Number 5, 2018.
Nice.
Number 6 is John Carpenter's Halloween. Number 7 is Halloween H2O. And then number 8 through 13, who cares? That's what I wrote down.
Number 1, Halloween. Why? Number 2, Halloween 3, Season of the Witch. Come on. Halloween 3, Rob Zombie's H2. Come on.
I love how similar our lists are so far.
This is where it starts to differ, though. Had to give 4 to Halloween 2 just because, in my opinion, that's the most palatable.
Okay.
Of anything else that kind of comes along, other than like, as I said, like Halloween 2018 was gonna be my 4 slot. It's a fine movie. It's really as probably palatable as H2. Shallow Reason. That one had more to do with Deborah Hill and John Carpenter.
Okay.
I feel like I got to give them the nod. They begrudgingly gave the studio a sequel. And you know what? It was honestly, like I said, like there's a lot of strength that I like. I like that overall vibe of like this just happened, so everybody's guard is still down. Is one of the main strengths it has. Real big. I'm pulling a flag. There's a yard penalty. There's a F. You guys, I am a nobody, and you guys are much closer to creative genius than I am at this point in my life. But I do not like the idea that like, oh, it's his sister.
Yeah,
he's coming to get his sister. That was a bad decision. Number 5, Hallow 18.
Okay.
Number 6, Halloween Kills. Nice. Number 7, 8. And 9, it looks like, are going to be Halloween 5, because 5 has 3 scenes in my mind.
Okay.
Begins with the river and the old man and the coma and the killing the guy, and ends with Bill Hicks breaking Michael out of jail with
a car chase in the middle.
Yeah. That's fantastic. It's not, but it's fantastic.
I feel bad. I should have put more thought into it and actually ranked these ones.
No, it's okay. And then it's 4, because that one is the first of that awful trilogy, and it's like, okay, that's palatable. And then 9 is 6. That's the one with Paul Rudd. That is so bad.
Barely
the
a
Paul
movie.
Rudd one, barely a movie. Again, it goes into the category. Few movies exist in this category. One of them being 13 Ghosts. Yeah. I would put that in the incomprehensible category, where it's just like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And honestly, I probably should have put H2O just above that. So let's just say H2O is 9. Yeah. Actually, let's say H2O is 8. Then 4, because that's a piece of shit. 6 is a real piece of shit. but it's definitely better than. Is it? Fuck. Maybe I should have also, because you know what? Let's drop 6 down to 11, and 10 is gonna be Resurrection just because of Busta Rhymes being like, man, I'm just giving America what they want. They don't want reality.
Yeah.
And then we're gonna end it with Rob Zombie's his first remake of Halloween. That was just, I'm putting that below everything else. That was really just a terrible.
Again, I didn't rank them, and I should have, but.
Look at all these memories. These are all memories.
Yeah,
we made
exactly.
together.
Is Rob Zombie's Halloween worse than Paul Rudd's Halloween?
I would say I'm more offended by Rob Zombie's, and that's why it ends up being worse for me. Whereas Paul Rudd's is more like, I don't even know that it finished when it's over.
That's what's offensive to me.
Yeah.
The offensive part to me is that they were 75%. They were 75% of the way through this movie, and then just went, "We'll figure it out. We'll do it on the night."
Yeah.
And then
we'll fix it in post.
Exactly. And then I had to sit there and watch it.
Yeah.
At least
I have something I would like to ask you.
At least Rob Zombie's Halloween said I got a burrito supreme talking back at me.
Yeah, that was pretty good. Would you like to revise anything about yours real quick with the revelations that you've had?
It's gonna.
You can take a moment too while I say this,
Yeah,
which you can respond to. If we can get our hands on it, which I think shouldn't be too hard, but maybe it might. Would you have any interest in watching the producer's cut of?
Yeah.
The 6?
Yeah.
What about the TV cut of the original 1978?
With extra scenes? Yeah, I'd like to see that too.
Yeah. I would say I'm interested to see whether I feel like the extra scenes help or hinder.
The original?
I hope, yes.
Okay.
I would hope that it did neither, that they just kind of come and go. But I just hope it doesn't hinder necessarily. I don't know. But I also have an interest in, like, I know that there's an alternate cut of the Twin Peaks first episode that's supposed to be more movie-esque, where it kind of has a contained story. I'd still like to see that. I know that's out there somewhere. I'd like to get my hands on that. So I'm going to put it in that category of just, what a curiosity. Both those are. Both the director's cut. Sorry, the producer's cut, which, on a side note, hilarious. Never seen a producer's cut anywhere else. Yeah. Don't think it exists.
I think the original one is the producer's cut, if I'm being honest.
Oh, like what we watched? Like the 6?
Yeah. Like, I mean, like it's not the producer's cut that you're talking about, but I think the reason that movie sucks, from what I read, is because the producer's like, I'm going to finish this movie.
Well, okay. Let's talk about your new rankings.
Okay. 1978. Number 2, Halloween 3. Number 3, Rob Zombies 2. Number 4, Kills. 5, 2018. 6, Halloween 2. 7, H2O. I think that is the most palatable of the post John Carpenter ones. Okay. It reminds me of like Scream 3 and stuff a lot. Just, it's watchable. Yeah. It's my big thing.
Yeah, it definitely reminds me of like a mid-90s.
Yeah.
Horror sequel specifically.
Number 8 is Halloween 5. Because it feels like a made-for-TV movie, but I still, nonetheless, had fun watching it.
Yeah, 5, in my opinion, is not, I don't know, pretty close to, if not matching, the fun levels of watching a Friday the 13th sequel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Halloween 4, because I think it's boring.
That's 9?
Yes.
Yeah, that's the biggest sin that one commits, is it's boring as shit.
Until the end, where it's like, oh no, she killed the family.
Yeah.
I wonder what they're going to do in Halloween 5. And then Halloween 5's like, nothing, we're going to chase her with a car.
You know where they ripped that from? Where? Friday the 13th, chapter 4, the final chapter. It's got one of the Coreys in it.
Yeah.
Has a similar ending.
Haim?
Not going to spoil it. We're just going to have to watch it.
Okay.
It's widely considered to be the best of the sequels. I mean, the first one's the one that's like, everybody's like, yeah, you don't need to see any of the others. But Halloween 4 is, not Halloween, sorry. Friday the 13th 4 is the one that, like, everybody's like, this is the only one you show your friends, unless you're watching it because it's so bad it's good.
I'm going to change.
Crispin Glover's also in it. Go ahead.
I'm going to swap these two. I'm going to lie.
Okay.
Halloween 4 is number 10.
Okay.
Number 9 is Busta Rhymes' Halloween.
Resurrection.
Dog shit bad movie, but
Busta Rhymes.
Busta Rhymes saves it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of kung fu. Is your brain working up there or whatever he says?
Oh, yeah. Shit working up there. Yeah.
And then I can't get over Michael Myers, that happening, and Michael Myers just being like, I don't know how to respond to this, and just walking away. Number 11, Rob Zombie's Halloween. Number 12, Paul Rudd's Halloween.
Oh, you're putting Rob Zombies over it. Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, so ours were pretty similar. There's a little swap in here and there. Yeah. But yeah, mine is revised. I feel good about mine.
Me too.
Yeah.
I like how similar. The ones that I feel really strongly about, we have the same, and I like that. I like that we're in sync on those things, and I like even more that we disagree about literally the last two.
Yeah.
There's such a bottom of the barrel that it doesn't matter, but I like that we have strong opinions on them either way.
Yeah. Well, anyways, that pretty much closes the chapter. This chapter of our lives, I think. I mean, other than like us checking out those curiosity ones, but I doubt we'll dedicate.
We're gonna watch 1978 in a few weeks here.
Oh yeah, that's right. This does not close the chapter. It feels like the chapter's closed.
Yeah.
Mainly because we kind of like
just ranked all of them. Yeah.
I think it was a given what was going to get the number one spot.
Oh, yeah.
But that's the best way I feel like, if anything, it's been sort of this weird journey from, like, the top of the barrel to the bottom of the barrel to, like,
the
immediately
middle.
Back up to the lid. Like,
yeah, we're at the top of the barrel. We just sank to the bottom, and then Rob Zombie hit us and shot us. He pushed us a little bit lower than the barrel, and we shot up like a balloon full of air up to the top again.
But, yeah, I would say closing the chapter kind of because I feel like the next episode that has anything to do with Halloween, obviously we've got, like, another week before we have to do the big three.
Yeah.
So we can do something else this week. But you know, the next time we do it, it's going to be sort of like the, I would say, not necessarily the Mount Rushmore, but kind of like, you know how there was like 50 dudes who signed the fucking declaration.
Yeah.
We only know 2 guys.
Exactly. Yeah.
We're going to do that kind of a thing where we watch Black Christmas and Texas Chainsaw and Halloween. And obviously Texas Chainsaw is like John Hancock and Halloween's like Ben Franklin. And who the fuck else signed that shit?
I'd say Halloween's the John Hancock because he's so well known because his signature is so big because he's flashy.
That's a very nice thing to say. I like that.
Before we go, what would you rate Halloween Kills?
Halloween Kills is definitely, in my opinion, in the it's a tough one because I'm gonna say it's not far below where I put 2018.
Yeah.
You know, I said 2018 was like, you know, in the like C minus range. I'm gonna put Halloween Kills more in the D range. I'd probably put a lot of Friday the 13th movies in that category, but a little more, I guess, happily and enthusiastically. And yeah, like I say, I guess, you know, ultimately at the end of the day, the difference between our two experiences really sounds like you had fun with this and I just didn't.
Yeah.
Because our complaints are the same, and the things that I like, pretty close to some of the things you like. There are some things you like that I don't necessarily care for. But yeah, it just ends up, like I didn't end up having any fun. And so perhaps in subsequent viewings, I will have more fun with it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think my opinion is going to change drastically in terms of whether or not it's a good movie, which is 100% where I was kind of tackling it from. It was kind of what 2018's Halloween set me up to think this movie had the potential to be. But now that my expectations have been shattered, perhaps, you know, on subsequent viewings, I can have much more fun with it. I'm not mad or anything like that. I don't hold anything against the people who have made this film. I'm not deeply offended or anything like that. It's just one of those things where, like I said, they did a decent job with 2018, and I expected them to do just something different with it. They subverted my expectations. In a sense, bravo. Subversion's cool. But, yeah, that's how I kind of feel about it.
But also, it would have subverted your expectations if it was just an hour and 45 minutes of a man pooping on a floor.
Hey, I mean, Andy Warhol once put out a movie that was just 6 hours of the Empire State Building.
Right.
So
I would give this movie...
Have fun watching that.
Objectively, I'd give this movie a C minus. Mm-hmm. Personally, I'm going to give it a B.
Okay. It was respectable. I definitely understand how you had fun with it.
Oh, yeah.
I can say that.
Yeah. And I definitely understand how you did not.
Yeah.
But I just hope one day we can at least meet in the middle. Maybe, hopefully, I hope that I eventually like it less and you like it a little more.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, that's another interesting thing to, is will it have staying power? With you, even. I don't necessarily mean even in a year, but, what happens in a decade?
Yeah.
All we are is dust in the wind. And all that dust collects in your mattress. And
Fuck.
that's that mattress, man.
Don't tell anybody, but I'm pretty sure the good old boys definitely happened in Halloween 4 and not Halloween 2.
If you need more soup, follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, or go to our website, eatingsoupalone.com. And until next time,